Hello, I've been running, and the name Anthony Collymore popped into my head. Who is Anthony Collymore?
Anthony Collymore is a retired school teacher and midnight robber band leader. A lot of other things. I don't want to blow my own trumpet.
In all the other things that you are, what is it you are most proud of?
My career as a school teacher.
So, Anthony, you are most proud of your career as a school teacher. And what
Yeah.
did you teach?
History, social studies, principle of business, and a little English on the side.
I have a view of our education system, and that is it seems to focus on the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, but it does not provide an opportunity for the creative persons. What is your view of that?
Parents want their children to be successful in those kind of fields. And so they push the doctors and the engineers. But everybody can't be a doctor and an engineer and a lawyer and that sort of thing. So you have to focus on the other things and the arts, language arts and the theater arts and all that. So that brings out, sometimes it brings out your personality and helps you find areas of talent and expertise they didn't even know you had.
So, if you could change something in the education system in order for the arts to be a little more prominent, what would you do?
Give it more serious favor in schools. It's not just something you have on the side so to keep the children busy. It is something that I think is neglected, and sometimes it's the first thing to be chopped in school because everybody concerned with the academic side of things. And that's what I would try to change, the people's focus on the arts as a serious area of study.
Having moved away from teaching, what are you
Mhm.
very proud of as a teacher?
Well, I survived 3 decades in a frontline school. I'm proud that I felt that I did my part in helping to make the society a better place because I taught in Mobile Lavender for almost 30 years, me and the wife.
Can you describe the success of anybody whom you taught?
We have a list. I have a list in my head of students who went on to UE, students who went to Cuba and became doctors. Successful, a very small list, but nevertheless, certain students, we pushed them in those directions and they were very successful despite the stigma of coming to our school. And we had an interesting situation for a while where we were offering repeat places for children from other schools, from prestige schools, for at O level, and we had a lot of success with them as well. And they said the teaching was much more effective than the schools they came from. And again, I'm not calling any names, but it was prestige school students. And they were happy to get the opportunity to reset the exams. And they also went on to university and that sort of thing.
I didn't know that students from prestige schools will go to Mova Laventil School to rewrite examinations. But that is absolutely wonderful. And congratulations on doing that. Let's
Yeah,
just move away from the teaching. And what are you occupied by now?
Now a lot of focus is on the Mystery Raiders Midnight Robber Band. And even though I didn't have the benefit of being in theater arts and all that sort of thing, I learned it as I was going along. It is much more than me say I. When you meet traditional mask characters, any of them, because it's stuff that you have to do yourself from start to finish. From you conceptualize what you're going to do, and then you have to have a whole host of behind the scenes helping you. And it's performance art, which
Hello.
again is not my area of expertise.
So if one of the persons viewing this video had not heard of that band before, what would you like to tell them about the history of the band?
It's quite likely that no one listening would have heard of the Mystery Raiders, but that's a whole host of reasons why that is. But the Midnight Robber character and our band, we go back to the early 80s. It's a very small band, sometimes as many as 10 people, sometimes as few as 3 or 4. And it's a solitary character, but we've tried to draw people in to make it like a little band, and we have themes and that sort of thing. And it's a difficult mask to play because it's not something you could just put on the clothes and you're a midnight robber. You have to perform. And so we have a lot of silent robbers in the band. And but it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of courage to face an audience and give a speech off the top of your head.
So
Yeah.
tell us about the Midnight Robber.
It's a boastful character who accosts people on the street and gives them a speech using literary devices. And it sounds very grandiose. You try to use many big words as possible, not necessarily concerning yourself overly with punctuation or articulation, but it has to be a flowing speech. And the idea is you intimidate your audience and then they will part of their treasure to you. They will donate a little money to you afterwards or to get rid of you. But basically it's a person who goes around giving speeches on how great he is and all the great deeds he has done in the past.
And in terms of Carnival, or do you know when the mystery robber became part of Carnival?
Probably from the very start. We've often wondered at ourselves because there's not much written on it. But people who have done a lot of research have come up with people in the early 1900s giving speeches. And so all along, there have been midnight robbers all along, not necessarily in band form like the mystery raiders. Sometimes one or two, and then they would say two people knew each other. They would make it look as though they bumped into each other by accident, and then they would accost each other and have a little back and forth between them. And that would also draw a crowd, and then they will pass their hat afterwards, and then they will wink at each other and go around another corner and have another surprise meeting somewhere else. And so that's how the robber used to operate in the past. Now we just parade, we look for judges, we perform for the judges, and some of us still accost little groups at the side of the road. And sometimes people run up to us and say, give me a speech. And they will pass a $10 or $20 or something like that. And it's fun that way.
So, what is your inspiration to continue this?
I got into it because of brotherly love. I had a very good friend from school, Brian Honoree, who was the consummate midnight robber. People will know that name. And I was the guy behind the scenes, transport, video, audio, that sort of thing. And when he passed unexpectedly, the responsibility of becoming a midnight robber and taking over the band, the leadership of the band fell on my shoulders. But I started toying with the idea of, but he pushed us to join, me and Johnny Stallmeyer, way back in 1988, 89, somewhere around there. And so I half-heartedly joined at that stage. And but by 2005, when he just passed unexpectedly, the full responsibility of the band fell on me, and it's out of love. It's out of a labor of love. I'm not the sort of person who likes being in the harsh glare of the public, and giving speeches off the top of your head is not something I look forward to either.
So, you've been carrying this band since 1990s?
I've been in the band since 1998, somewhere around there. It's been a long time.
And what keeps you doing this every carnival over and over?
The momentum, and then as I say, we were trying to keep Brian's memory alive. And that kept us going. As each year passed, we kept ideas occur to us, grandiose ideas. And that side of it appeals to me. So like we had a Mayan pyramid, we had Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, and these are things out of your imagination. We did a woolly mammoth one year, entire life-size woolly mammoth. And so it became our mission to see if we could outdo ourselves. We did the Tree of Life very recently as well. I have one Tree of Life jersey. I don't know if you could see much of it.
We're now seeing the Tree of Life jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each year we try to come up with things, and This year gone, we came up with tribes, tribal war. We discussed that for a long time. And it's very different. That's where the brain work comes in. We have to figure out a theme and then how we're going to apply it to Midnight Robbers and the scene. And sometimes we talk about social commentary and that sort of thing. So it's a very intellectual exercise, actually. And that appeals to me as well. But it's difficult giving speeches. That's the part I don't really like. But that's the part you have to do. And
It,
then as leader, I have to step up. I can't say I don't feel like doing it, you know. Yeah, one year we actually performed on stilts, not as high as the 7 foot stilts, but in my old age, I got up on 1 foot stilts. Some of the other younger ones got up on 2 foot stilts, and that was nice and fun as well to do that.
so
Yeah.
what do you see as a future of this band?
That's an excellent question. We've been wondering that as well because our numbers have dwindled and the enthusiasm is not as fiery as it was before. But we haven't exactly given up just yet. Again, somebody's going to come up with a bright idea. Why we do this next year and a theme, and then the vibe keeps flowing again. But in the present form that Carnival is, we have actually taken ourselves out of the competition aspect and we're not looking for judges anymore. We just parade and have a good time on our own. And we have little messages painted up on, we have 2 coffins that we use and we put little messages and we give speeches at the side of the road and we have our own little microphone system. And so we're out of the competition aspect and the parading in front of judges and all that.
Is it that you're the only band that has moved away from competition, or have the other bands moved away from competition?
No, over the years, a lot of the very big bands have gone down to the stadium. That started it. And there are a couple other small bands that don't have anything to do with the judges as well. Robert Young's band doesn't have anything to do with judging and all that sort. They just parade and have a good time as well. And a lot of the small bands are like that. That's why you hardly hear of us. And we don't get any television coverage and all that sort of thing. But we like it.
Are there other Midnight Robber bands that are still in existence?
Not that I'm aware of. There were 3 people up to about 10 years ago that were a little rival band, but 2 have passed on and the other one has dropped out. So these days, I don't think there are any.
So the Midnight Robber band and concept, which has a historical part of it, is likely to just disappear.
No, I'm hoping not, and we all hope not. It's being pushed out of Carnival in its present form, but it's an important part of the Trinidad scene. So politicians do rubber talk all the time. I don't think it's gonna die out just like that. And there are gonna new people are gonna come up, like Brian's son. He's there behind it. He's there coming up into his own, and he's very talented and that sort of thing. So it's not gonna disappear. It's just that it's difficult to fit into Carnival the way it is now.
So if a miracle happened and you could make a difference, what would you like to see happen with regard to the Midnight Robber band?
We have done a couple little innovative things in my book. We've targeted very young children, and we've also had women midnight robbers. That's always fun. And they've been given brave speeches, and that it gives a little extra dimension to the thing, which is not entirely new, but we've always had women midnight robbers in the band at one time or another. Sometimes we used to have foreign students from universities abroad join our band for one day. That was also fun as well. As a matter of fact, sometimes they would overwhelm the band because say 8 of us and 10 of them, but it would give the band some bulk. And that used to be nice. And it showed then that these foreign university students were coming here to study our art form. And we then realized how important the work we were doing, how important it was. And we were actually given the opportunity to lecture to these students as well. That part I like. And it made me feel good. People come here to study us.
My recollection of Midnight Robber is something that frightened me as a child.
That's the point, to frighten the person and get their money. Yeah.
Okay, so the future of Midnight Robber, what would be a perfect future for you?
When we get our own space. So right now, that's what we're struggling to do. We're organizing our own space inside of the carnival without having to cross the stage in the savannah, without having necessarily to go downtown and look for judges and that sort of thing. So we standing firm, but outside of the what is the norm for carnival now, which is just a lot of music trucks blaring and that sort of thing. Get a quiet spot and we regroup there and we make all the speeches and that's it for now. And then little smaller events. There used to be like VA Laku in Queen's Hall, which has then moved up to UE. That's interesting as well. And sometimes we get an opportunity to perform there. That crowd is tailor-made for traditional mass. And that's a better atmosphere. But how it is now in Port of Spain, it's not so good.
What would you say to encourage people who listen to this interview that come and join the Midnight Robber Band?
It gives you an opportunity, is a personality thing. If you have the right personality and you like performing and you're a poet or you're into spoken word, it's a perfect platform for you. And that sort of person, or even somebody who, like students who are struggling with their reading and writing, is perfect for that because it helps you with that. And it's not something that would occur to people just like that. Because getting a speech down on paper or reciting a speech, it helps you with your confidence and it helps you with your diction. It helps you to learn literary devices and that sort of thing. And so from an educational standpoint, it's very good for youngsters to try it. And then again, if you are a budding poet or somebody who likes rap or that kind of thing, perfect.
As we bring this interview to an end, what would you like us to remember?
The Mystery Raiders has been around a long time. We do it as a labor of love to our fallen brethren, Brian Honoree, the reincarnation of Okangasiro. And that's what I would like them to remember. All this is in his honor. So actually, we've stopped putting our own names up on the banner. And it's good that people should take note of the pioneers who went before. We had a guy in our band who was 100 years old and 103 when he passed. And there are a lot of old veterans that need remembering whose name they just faded into oblivion. And that's what we try to do, keep these people name and their memory alive.
So maybe the 2026 Carnival theme might be reflecting on our past.
Could be. See, someone always comes up with a good idea. Excellent idea. I thank you very much for having me and giving me this opportunity to say just a little bit about what it's all about.
Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it.
And while running,